Greetings. Welcome to Dr. English's Book Lovers Book Club. I'm Dr. English and I teach English. This week I'm going to review A World Without You by Beth Revis. I really like this book because it was about time travel, and I read the inner jacket and found out that she is a big fan of Doctor Who, and I too am a really huge fan of Doctor Who and the concept of time travel. And in this book, I love that she makes it feel like you are drawn into Beau's world, who has the power of time travel, and they're at a school for, for kids with extraordinary powers. That's not the name of the school, but they all have some kind of powers. Gwen can be like Starfire, and Ryan is kind of one of those complicated characters. You're never sure about him, that has telekinesis and can move things and control people's minds. And then Harold is the person who talks to ghosts. And then Sophia was the person that Beau had a relationship with at this school, because he had been to many schools. The other kids had all been to other kinds of schools, and they come to this school. But Sophia had the power to be invisible. And so one of the things that I really appreciate about this is there's Dr. Franklin, who is, kind of meets with these four young people and has, class with them. They have other classes, but they all meet with him. And, they have a front that this is a school for, like a sanitarium, so to speak. And Dr. Franklin is in charge of these four individuals and is like their psychotherapist. But, in Beau's mind, the way the story is told is like this is a place, and that, Dr. Franklin also has powers too, and that he is kind of helping all of these students with all these special powers that they have. And then what Beth Revis does is that she has Phoebe, who is Beau's sister, have chapters throughout the book, which I think the structure of that is really interesting, because I don't think if there was not Phoebe, you wouldn't be able to keep track of it, because she's always telling what's happening with Beau, like when he's at home. And the parents are very detached parents. The mother is like someone who's always making sure the house is in order, that everything is perfect, and so it's like a response to some of the exceptional things that has happened with Beau. And so that part, I feel like she plays out the parts of people that have, extraordinary powers or extreme mental illness. And that's the part about this. You don't, as you're drawn into the story, you really do believe, as the reader, that Beau is trying to go back in time because what ends up what he did was he left Sophia back in time. And it's like 1692, and this is like on the East Coast, and it's a place where, they would have had, witch trials. And so he's desperate to get back to her in time, because he can be invisible. So she would be, and she's dark skinned, and he is, so caught up into getting her back. And then it's like he is suspicious of people. He's suspicious of Ryan. He thinks Ryan is using his telekinesis power to control the situation and control what's going on at the school. And people come to investigate because Sophia has gone missing. And because he can manipulate time, he's seeing these different things about what happened at the school. And he is just bound and determined to get Sophia back to the present time. And so I love that she has that. There's these strings on here, and like her string is a red string. And it's just like the threads of time, and he can attach himself to that. And I always think about that when I think about Doctor Who, this idea of these threads representing time, someone's timeline. And I really like that concept. And so I'm going to read a piece. It is when Beau is going to talk to Dr. Franklin, and it's toward the end of the book, and it kind of also gives you an idea of, in particular, about Ryan, about his distrust of Ryan. And there's also this boy named Carlos Estrada who drowned in the pool at the school, and he's seeing Carlos Estrada, and that's interesting to me that he sees him. And so it's just really interesting to me, and I love that. I'm gonna maybe like go a little bit further, but I wanted you to know that he is seeing Carlos, who was a boy who died there. Okay. Do you remember that first day here at the academy when we were introducing ourselves? The doctor doesn't wait for me to answer him. We each talked about our biggest problem, our biggest triggers and worries. And I told you about myself, remember? I discussed my drug addiction when I was a kid, Dr. Franklin says. I said that was the reason I took this job, why I wanted to help kids with problems. There is a roaring ocean in my ears, but I push it down so my head's above the water and I can hear. My heart can drown, but I need my mind. I keep going back to that time now, the doctor continues, his voice contemplative. I keep reminding myself that not everyone can be saved. That's not true, I want to say. Sometimes people don't want to be saved, he says, and that's frustrating. Yeah, I say. You understand, don't you? I nod. It's not something I could put into words, but yeah, I understand. It's complicated. Life is like the time stream, all knotted and twisted and convoluted. And maybe if we could all see exactly where the threads of our fate lead, we'd be able to make the right choices all the time. But we can't. Not even me. Especially not me. Because I never saw this. There are possibilities we can't imagine, futures we could never envision. And there are spots of darkness we cannot see past. I wanted to save Sophia, Dr. Franklin says, and I truly believe she wanted to be saved. But you can't save everyone, I say in a low voice. Beyond the doctor, Carlos Estrada, dripping wet and slowly turning blue, nods. I remember the day Sophia told me about Carlos's death, the way no one noticed. Everyone was playing and splashing in the pool, everyone but him. He sank quietly underwater. He never came back up. Real drowning is quiet, Sophia had said. It doesn't announce itself. It just happens. And then you're gone. She's gone. Carlos Estrada nods again, and then he disappears. I understand why she told me about Carlos Estrada now. So that's a passage that I thought was really wonderful for Bo. Sorry about knocking the camera. Because the whole book, he's, trying to go back and save Sophia. And he believes that he can go and get her and bring her back to 1692. But he's living in this world. And I think that's what Beth Revis did so well, that she uses this as a means for us as readers to know what might be happening in another person's mind when they're dealing with grief, if they have, some kind of emotional or imbalance or psychological imbalance, like they create their own world. And I felt like she did such a good job of portraying that, because you're kind of like vacillating between, is this, like a fantasy fiction where we have all this going on, or is this a book that's more like, a realistic book? And I think that's not an easy thing to do for a writer. So I really, props to her for doing that. I definitely think I could teach this book. I think it would be a lot of fun. If you had like a young adult literature class, you definitely want to maybe think about teaching this. It's really well written, and it really leaves you with like, I wasn't expecting that. Definitely do it for a book club. I do it for a book talk. I encourage your kids to like do book talks and use a young adult book. But yeah, I thought it was really good. And so I highly recommend it. I thought it was fun to read and just to try to keep track of what's going on, if you like books like that. So thank you for joining me this week for my review of A World Without You. Next week, I'm going to be doing a review of The Apothecary by Miley and Malloy. And I absolutely love this book. I can't wait to talk to you about it. I just loved it a lot. So I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me. Bye.